When Big Sean said, one man can change the world, those meant to inspire hope. But here in South Africa, those words feel more like a bitter reminder of how one man can take a country from bad to worse. It's crazy how much power one person can have, and how devastating it can be when that power is used against its own people. Today, we're going to talk about Cyril Ramaphosa, the man who went from being a symbol of hope to a figure of disappointment. But you should understand why so many South Africans have lost faith in him. To start it off, we need to go back to one of the darkest days in our country's history, the Marikana massacre. A day when 34 miners were killed, and a day that will forever stain Ramaphosa's legacy. And most of all, why I hate Ramaphosa. August 16th, 2012, 34 striking miners were killed by police at the Marikana Platinum Mine in Northwest Province in South Africa. This was the most lethal use of force by the state since the end of apartheid. I'll repeat that. This was the most lethal use of force by the state since the end of apartheid. Let that sink in. The miners were striking for better wages and working conditions, which they claimed were exploitative. At the time of the massacre, Cyril Ramaphosa was the non-executive director of Lonmin, the company that owned Alexandra. Shortly before the massacre, Ramaphosa sent emails to Lonmin executives and government officials, describing the miners' strike as criminal and calling for concomitant action.
ANC heavyweight Cyril Ramaphosa, a Lonmin BEE partner, made it clear that he saw only one solution. In an email to a Lonmin executive, the terrible events that have unfolded cannot be described as a labor dispute. They are plainly dastardly criminal and must be characterized as such. In line with this characterization, there needs to be concomitant action to address the situation.
And yes, I may well have used unfortunate language in the messages that I sent out, and for which I have apologized, and for which I do apologize that I did not use appropriate language. But I had never had the intention to have 34 other mine workers killed.
Critics argue these emails influenced the government and police response, framing strikers as criminals rather than employees fighting for fair treatment. Ramaphosa has been widely criticized for his perceived role in the events, with many accusing him of prioritizing corporate interest over workers' lives. Despite his later apologies, many families of the victims feel justice has not been served. To this day, no senior officials or police officers have been held accountable for the massacre. The widows and the families of the deceased have called for reparations and justice, but progress has been slow. Ramaphosa has expressed regrets over the massacre, stating his words were misinterpreted and that he has never intended for violence or care. And through this video, you'll see how this is always a reoccurrence. It's always people misinterpreting what he said. Critics, however, argue that as a shareholder and political figure, he should have taken a stand for the miners rather than siding with Lonmin. The Marikana massacre is often brought up to question Ramaphosa's moral compass and priorities as a leader. Many see it as an example of how his alignment with elite interest at the expense of the working class. The Marikana underscores the empowering economic inequality in South Africa, where workers still face exploitation while corporate and elites benefit. Ramaphosa's inability to fully address these issues during his presidency fuels ongoing resentment. Take a moment to pay tribute to the 34 miners who lost their lives. Share their names, honor their memory, and let's ensure they are not forgotten. You know, a lot can be said about this man, Cyril Ramaphosa. Remember when he promised those 1 million houses for Alexandra residents?
Sisazowakha izindlu ezilingana no-1 million. 1 million yezindlu zizowakhiwa lezo zindlu lapha Alexandra.
And then came the blatant denial with Philan Balula lying through his teeth, trying to spin the story.
It was not 1 million. It was almost 100,000 houses that we wanted.
How many of those have you built since he made that promise in 2019 before the last election?
2019 was just 2 years ago.
Yeah, so?
Yes.
So you need more than 2 years to build a house?
No, we are building every day.
In Alexandra?
As we speak now, we are building
No, in
houses.
Alex.
We are building houses.
But in Alex?
Even in Alex. We are building houses
there's not a single house that was built in Alex after that promise.
But it doesn't stop there. Ramaphosa himself denied the promise.
It is quite clear from the recording of what I said that these houses were not just for Alexandra. There is simply not enough space in Alexandra to be able to develop and even approach the scale that would amount to 1 million.
From what I've seen, it's like everything he does is for his own benefit, putting himself first before the country. The bombshell article from Daily Maverick from 2023 proves exactly that. Imagine this. The power cuts that ruined your dinner, stopped your business, or left your family in the dark when just Eskom falling apart. They were planned. 4 criminal cartels were running Eskom, bribing insiders, faking shortages, and even sabotaging power plants to steal from you, the taxpayer. And guess what? The Daily Maverick linked 2 of Ramaphosa's own cabinet members to this mess. This wasn't just a mismanagement. It was an inside job. How can you trust a government that seems more interested in enriching itself than helping its own people? Well, you don't. A few days ago, Ramaphosa said this.
President Cyril Ramaphosa says he wants more Nigerian businesses to invest in South Africa. He was speaking at the 11th session of the Binational Commission in Cape Town earlier today.
We look forward to seeing more Nigerian companies investing in South Africa. In fact, we want to see Nigerian products on the shelves of South African shops. Our efforts to create a favorable environment include our simplified visa process for Nigerian business people to travel to South Africa. Qualifying Nigerian business people can be granted a 5-year multiple entry visa. In addition, tourists from Nigeria are now able to apply for a visa without even submitting a passport.
South Africans are livid, man, are livid. Everyone's talking about it. Remember, Ramaphosa never makes a decision just for the benefit of South Africa. Let's connect the dots. Let's rewind to 1996. Cyril Ramaphosa, champion of the black economic empowerment, strikes a deal with Nikki Oppenheimer of Anglo-American. It was hailed as progress, but let's not forget, the Oppenheimers were securing their position in the new South Africa, aligning themselves with political power. Ramaphosa was right there, making it happen. Fast forward to today, and the Oppenheimers are still calling the shots. 2023. Jonathan Oppenheimer took over GS Industries, Nigeria's largest beverage can manufacturer. GZ Industries isn't just Nigerian anymore. They've got factories in South Africa, and they are planning to expand further. Now here's where things get interesting. In 2024, Ramaphosa's government suddenly simplifies visa processes for Nigerian business people. 5-year multiply entry visas for Nigerian entrepreneurs. Sound familiar? It's like the system was tailor-made for someone like Jonathan Oppenheimer. Is this just a coincidence? Or is Ramaphosa part of a system where the rich keep getting richer while the rest of us get promises with no results? Let's hold our leaders accountable, not just for what they say, but for what they do. As we reflect on everything and the potential shutdown, let me leave you with this one last thought. Just over a year ago, there was a moment when it seemed like even President Ramaphosa himself was ready to throw in the towel, giving to resign, amidst the rising criticism and pressure.
Why calling for the removal of the president is because, guys, the president has resigned, and you all know that. President wrote a letter. People who work with him, the people who typed his speech, told me it's done, Chief. We're done. We're just waiting for the time to call a press conference. It's done. Until a faction went to persuade him the same day.
Now ask yourself, what kind of a leader are we witnessing? A leader waiting to step back when the heat gets too intense, or someone playing a long game for a personal gain? There's so much to uncover. And trust me, I'm just scratching the surface. If you want me to dive deeper, let me know. Maybe there'll be a part 2 in the works. For now, I'll leave you with this. What will it take for us as South Africans to stop wanting someone to save us and start taking action ourselves? Until next time, stay informed, stay critical, and stay ready. Mzansi Awakened.